There are many ways to secure a throne. But what if the only way to keep power was to eliminate every person who shared your blood? In the heart of the Ottoman Empire, beneath the towering domes of Topkapi Palace, an order was whispered, quiet, cold, final. Infants, children, even boys too young to understand what a throne even meant were dragged from their beds. Not for exile, not for prison, but for execution. Their only crime was being born royal. This is not a legend. This is not myth. This is the true story of Sultan Mehmed III, the man who, upon taking the throne, slaughtered his own brothers, cousins, nephews, and possibly even his own infant sons. In one single night, he wiped out 19 male members of his dynasty. Why? Because in the Ottoman Empire, blood was power, and power was a matter of life and death. To understand Mehmed's decision, we must go back, not just to his rise, but to the very foundations of a system built on fear, control, and paranoia. For centuries, the Ottoman dynasty had grown rapidly. As each sultan passed, his sons, sometimes 10, 15, or more, were raised as potential heirs, each with his own mother, each with his own ambitions. The result was a deadly game, a race to the throne where only one could win, and the rest were expected to die. It wasn't always this way. Early sultans allowed their brothers to live, sometimes even rule as governors. But as rivalries festered and rebellions erupted, the empire learned a brutal lesson. A living prince is a future threat, and so a policy emerged, silent, unwritten at first, but enforced with terrifying consistency. Fratricide, a word that means the killing of one's brothers. But in the Ottoman context, it went far beyond that. It became an institutionalized purge, a bloody insurance policy written in the veins of the dynasty. By the time Mehmed III was born in 1566, the practice was already normalized. He was the son of Murad III, a powerful but troubled sultan known for fathering over 100 children. Yes, 100. The palace swelled with concubines, servants, and children, all vying or destined to one day vie for the throne. But Mehmed was special. From a young age, he was told, "You are the chosen one." He was sent to rule the province of Manisa, the traditional training ground for heirs. While there, Mehmed learned the art of governance, of military command, of deception, of fear. But as he grew into manhood, he also grew paranoid. Because every day he ruled from Manisa, his brothers were growing too. Some were popular, some were clever, some, rumor had it, were even more favored by powerful viziers in the capital. And then, Murad III died. With his father gone, Mehmed faced a terrifying reality. He was now the sultan, and every one of his younger brothers could be the next. It said that Mehmed didn't hesitate. Almost immediately after his coronation, he issued the command. The executioners, mute men trained in strangulation so no royal blood would be spilled, entered the prince's chambers one by one. The youngest was just an infant still clinging to a toy. One by one, they were suffocated with silken cords. 19 corpses, laid out in silence, wrapped in linen, buried without ceremony. The palace did not mourn. The empire moved on, and Mehmed sat the throne in peace. But peace is never permanent in the Ottoman world. His reign was haunted, not just by whispers of what he had done, but by something darker, the sense that the curse of fratricide was not just a political necessity, but a spiritual poison. Those close to Mehmed said he changed after the executions. He became withdrawn, cruel, moody, obsessed with omens, shadows, and silence. He launched a military campaign against Austria that ended in disaster. He trusted few. He smiled rarely. And despite fathering dozens of children himself, he lived with the knowledge that one of them would have to do what he had done. The cycle continued, and that was the true horror. Not just that Mehmed executed 19 of his kin, but that the empire had built a system where such acts were rewarded, encouraged, even celebrated as necessary. But what made Mehmed different, what made his act stand out, was the scale. 19. No sultan before or after ever matched that number. It was a massacre of his own family, not in wartime, not by accident, but by design. And yet, he was not remembered as a villain. In Ottoman chronicles, Mehmed III is written as a dutiful son, a loyal Muslim, a strong sultan. His crimes are not ignored, but they are rationalized. Better one Mehmed than 19 civil wars, one chronicler wrote. But behind those cold words lies an even colder truth. The Ottoman Empire, for all its beauty, wealth, and splendor, was built on a foundation soaked in blood, and Mehmed's reign was its darkest stone. He ruled only 8 years before dying suddenly at the age of 37. Some say illness, others whisper poison. His son Ahmed took the throne, and when he did, the world held its breath. Would Ahmed follow tradition? Would he kill his brothers? The answer was no. For the first time, the new sultan spared his siblings. But instead of freedom, he built for them something worse. Prison. A place inside the palace known only as the cage. There, Ottoman princes were locked for life. No books, no wives, no contact with the outside world. Just long corridors of silence, waiting endlessly, in case one day the throne became vacant. No more murder, just madness. Mehmed's legacy, then, is not just in the blood he spilled, but in the system he perfected. A system where royalty meant isolation, where power required execution, where the very thing that made you special, your blood, was the thing most likely to get you killed. So the next time you hear a story of golden thrones and majestic palaces, remember the shadows behind them. Remember the sultan who executed his entire bloodline, not because he was a monster, but because the system required it. And sometimes, the darkest evil is not in the man, but in the world that made him.